And good afternoon, everyone. I know that this session is just before the lunch, but we will try to make it more interesting, and I'll make sure that you need more, energy before the lunch. So, welcome everyone for the session. Just before the session, I got to know that. Sorry for being geography biased, but it seems to be a Mumbai panel. All of us, are traveling from Mumbai, the same city. So, without wasting much time, let's get started. So first of all, thank you, Yogi, thank you, Mathan, and Komal for joining us on the panel and, for sharing your experiences here today. And thank you, Nullcon team, for allowing us to, share our gyan here. And feel free to, ask the question in the end. We will have some Q&A time. So, let's start with the concept Cyber Fusion Center, right? When we were just standing outside and we started, brainstorming that why this word and why this addition of, one more buzzword, Cyber Fusion Center. We already have as a cybersecurity community to handle so many buzzwords. Why there is a new buzzword around and, so idea of this panel is not to complicate the already complicated cybersecurity ecosystem. Rather than we will try to make sure that we will simplify this concept and try to touch down, in our day-to-day life that what does it mean in our operational life when we talk about Cyber Fusion Center. And with that, I would like to, open the floor and just go around to share just one or two line about, what is your vision or what is your layman understanding about the word Cyber Fusion Center before, we embark on the discussion. So Komal, maybe just want to share your two-line view about the Cyber Fusion Center concept. Sure. You can take the mic, please.
Yeah, hi. So in terms of cyber fusion, I think that cyber fusion helps to integrate people, technology, and data. So that really helps to, do timely decisions as well as, to have a cyber resilience environment. So that's as far as cyber.
Mathan?
I think the people process technology is one aspect of looking at fusion coming our way. The way we saw fusion happening is slightly different. I'll dwell at point in time when we deliberate in detail. Yesterday I saw somebody wearing a t-shirt which had, "I am a defender." And today somebody else, "I am a hacker." The role on majority of you, especially in the defense side of it, is defined by role. But actually in the hacking community, they don't have a role telling that I am doing initial access, I am doing recon, I am doing this. So their core objective is defined to penetrate and enter inside. But for defenders, it is not just defend. We have a reaction time, we have a response time, we have a recovery time, etc. So as a CISO, we are embarked on that journey to bring back up the operation instant immediately. Fusion, I will go down the path to say that how do we integrate roles into a comprehensive core objective of a corporate, right? Leveraging various, inclusive of the people process technology that we talked about. How are we planning to do is something that I will touch about. Thank you.
Thank you. Yogi?
Thanks, Mathan. I think I don't have much to add after the both of you. But I think I'll go expand on the term you use, buzzword. So I think it's a buzzword right now, cyber fusion, but the larger thing we have to remember is that it's something which we have, like the foundations were already there, like we had SOC, we have TI, we had all these other things, but they all disparate. So what Mathan was saying, I think that's what it is. Like we're trying to bring together all of that into a single unit, and that impact is what we've been like missing. And with the pace of technology, right now, there is a lot of, I guess, just value. It's just, I think it's common sense that this is happening. It's kind of like an evolution of the next phase of things. So cyber fusion in my mind is just getting together all these pieces, breaking down the silos, and having a one-pointed focus for what we all really here for.
Thank you. Thank you, Yogi. So, in a nutshell, we used to call, CSOC, Cyber Security Operations Center. Some call it CDC now, Cyber Defense Center. And maybe further elevation word, CFC, Cyber Fusion Center. this is all expansion and evolution of, how the SOC centers are evolving. So good reminder that, what's coming next. But rather than talking around the word, let's talk about the characteristics, and maybe before going to the characteristics, what problem we have today that needs to be addressed. So, I want to go a little deep inside the problems that we see today, and with the advancement of the technology and a lot of AI coming in, and the threat actors are also getting smarter, getting a lot of collaboration amongst them. What are the core problem statement that we see in Fusion Center? We should go around. So I liked one analogy here when somebody said, Komal said, people process technology, right? And that leads me towards this three pillar that comes to my mind, the human, which is a part of the ecosystem. So what challenges that we see around human, because I'm sure all of you at the leadership level are not just having one team in your organization, but you have, your SOC, IR, threat intel, threat hunting, vulnerability management, red team, GRC. So there are many teams and the functions, So I'm sure at people level, at human level, there must be some of the challenges that needs to be solved fundamentally. And I'm sure all of this team would be also using different technologies, right? Let's say SOC will be using SIM and then incident response tools and threat hunting tools. So there are different teams and there are different technologies they are leveraging. So the tech part that we discussed. And the third pillar which comes is the data they generate. Because then one team works on one technology, they generate few data points, right? But when you as a leader look at the holistic view, I'm sure there'll be a lot of challenges that, you'll be facing around all the three dimensions, whether it's a people, technology, or the data or the processes, that we have around. So, first, let's try to deep dive into the people part of it. Maybe Mathan, if you can share your views on the, the people and the collaboration or any other challenges that you see at the human aspect when so many functions are working across, what are the top 2 or 3 challenges that comes to your mind?
So, than people I would touch as a skill, right? So
Yeah.
people corresponding with
Feel
this,
free. Yeah.
right? So the moment we look at skill, the complexity in defending a corporate is multitude. So let's take the example of an analyst. Analyzing an incident which had happened now versus a repetitive of similar incident happening the next time. There is no logical way that we can find 2 analysts does the same job. In spite of it could possibly be referred to in a playbook as well. Playbooks are normally claimably inferred, referred. But you and I know majority of analysts don't even look into the playbook unless otherwise there is a net new fresh guy who came in to re-look into the playbook as such, right? So the ability of a knowledge that has been embarked by set of sequence of actions done by person A, how do we convert that into a repetitive task in a guided approach versus we don't want to make it so monotonous that person A followed steps A, B, C, and person B is also expected to follow the same step. He might bring in an innovative net new step. So constantly continuing to learn from a net new step adoption is a very, very important element when we look at the skill level, varied skill level that comes the way. And many occasion analysts elevate the event to a level 2, level 3 who brings in diverse view. So that's one way we look at problem solving, right? Which is mapping the skill to a common knowledge base and making the knowledge base easily accessible for reapplication and constantly improve upon the knowledge base periodically. If you ask any guy who is operating SOC, none of this would be existing. You can practically tell that, right? So all of us are in the visionary mode to try and make the learnability of the knowledge and then reapplicability of that and make it constantly guided approach. So as we speak, if I were to tell, I am on the journey to make it suggestive, action-driven SOC, right? So if we see a variance in action being done by analyst B, it's a suggestive technology that would offer back to the analyst telling that, hey, I saw somebody else did this for the similar set of incident. Would you want to? He can choose to ignore. He can choose to amend. He can choose to say that I would want to do slightly different. So suggestive is the manner that we are trying to do from a skill enhancement perspective.
So that reminds me of, my analyst days when I was an analyst in L1 and L2, and we are trying to coordinate whenever there is an incident, right? We need to coordinate with multiple teams. For example, sometime there's a desktop which needs to be quarantined. The email server where some email needs to be blocked or URL need to be blocked on a proxy. So we end up talking to multiple teams, sometime within the IT function, sometime within the CISO function itself, right? So that still goes back into my mind that, how difficult it used to be when you have a P1 or a P2 to talk so many teams. Do you still see that as a challenge, as an executive, not just from an operation for one incident, but from a data sharing, for example, when threat intel team receives, because that data is not just for them, it is for vulnerability management team when they do the triaging, for exploit analysis, or, for maybe risk management team. So do you see that data sharing amongst those functions is still a concern in today's defense centers?
So security for defenders like us evolved in point-driven manner, right? So point products point technologies come in play to do a specific problem solution. Like, for example, when SOC started getting built, SOC began with the mundane founding pillar called SIM. Now, SIM became monotonous for anybody who is running a SOC. But is that the way to do it? The answer is, in today's context, it is no. Right? People started looking into, say, a Maitre or a cyber kill chain and understand that for the early part of the attack chain, which is recon being done, which are all noisy equipments, which are firewalls, IDS, IPS, WAF, etc. The noisy part can be integrated back to a SIM, which can give intellectual information, right? Sensor, telemetry, appropriately correlated in a SIM. Now, when we look at the next evolution, so we embarked, as a part of my earlier role, and now I am able to visualize to have applied it. We set up the second SOC. I have distinct SOC. The second SOC we set up was Identity SOC, which very famously Gartner calls today it as ITDR, Identity Threat Detection and Response, very uniquely set. If you map back to the kill chain, it is actually somebody gaining CNC. To gain a CNC, you essentially need an account compromise and gaining an access into it. So I have a unique SOC within the SOC, which looks at the Identity SOC. So when we looked at original SOC, it was mother of all, uniform, comprehensively, a total view, but now we want distinct. So centralized, decentralized, and then comprehensive view, where we have the need to go and integrate, automate various steps.
Yeah.
It was tough earlier, but with evolved technologies, we are able to automate mundane tasks, and majority of these intelligent information sharing, which I would call as telemetry. Relate telemetry, pass it back to different distinct SOC. We have 3 SOCs running and a mother SOC running. Right? Infra SOC, identity SOC, and an information SOC. Each has distinct pillar. An identity SOC is not built with SIM. It is built with unique technology like a UBA. A unique technology like something else which can give identity-driven telemetry more. Information SOC built with, say, DLPS at core, etc. But each of them has to still go back to a mother, right? So that integration is what we try and work through. I understand where we are coming. So it's a very unique way that we are looking at to build through. Centralized to decentralized to re-centralize back again is the manner that we are working towards.
Absolutely. And, with that, Yogi, Mathan mentioned about the use of technologies as well, right? When he said about the identity SOC or the cyber SOC or the umbrella SOC, right? I'm sure there are so many technologies involved, and, the processes across those technology needs to be connected, right? So when you see when organizations already has the plethora of the technologies and the new technologies keep adding up to the ecosystem, what are the challenges that you see? Because you run, first-hand operations with so many technologies. So what are the top challenges that you see with managing so many technologies today, whole as an ecosystem?
Mathan, I think, put it very succinctly, the skills of the people is one thing, and then the technology which they are using. And I'll give you an example of, a very old example of Southwest, right? The reason why Southwest Airlines was so successful is because they made just one plane, they just had one plane. They had all their engineers trained on the same, tool, same engine. So everything was less. from a point of view of training and like just getting them to have one schedule. But what ended up like what's ended up happening now is that especially companies which are larger footprint, what they end up doing is, you get an M&A, you bring some tools, you get a different set of people, you try to integrate all of these things together, but it becomes a mismatch. So what you really need to do is invest in a few, stable technologies and then keep changing as you go forward. So one thing going back to the people point was, I wanted to add was, the leadership alignment is very important. Like, so if you have threat intel using a separate tool, if you have the SOC using separate SIM, there has to be some commonality. And I think this drives to your third point, which you're making was, you need if you have a lot of different tools, you need those people who have, skills to work on those tools. But the common thing is the data, right? So if you can have something which connects all these three, if you have leadership alignment and you have data which connects all things, then you can have like a threshold of, okay, we can manage X number of tools. But there has to be a threshold. You can't just keep adding more and more and, going in that space. And the other thing I'll add is that evolution is always going to happen, and some tools which were really good for certain things might get outdated. So you have to keep changing, keep looking so you have to have this very proactive approach to what's out there, what are people working on. And some companies like to build things, some companies like to, buy things. So now subscription is a big one. So, where do you go? And when something like CrowdStrike, the outage which happened for CrowdStrike, when that happens, then everyone goes back to the drawing board and figure out, okay, is this still something which you want to do? So I feel like the things are like changing so rapidly. So you need what Mathan said, you need some sort of a dedicated function within your cyber fusion, which continues to explore this area. And, so that they're on top of it.
I understand, with having so many technologies, the integrated cyber defense, we call, I think integration is a key word there. When you have so many technologies, those can't run in the silos, right? I think that's a point, so many teams using so many technologies. The team silos will add, technology silos will add, but eventually, the data that they will generate, that creates the big problem, So Komal, question for you, when you see, from the 360-degree view where, lot of data points are being reported to an executive, as a security function lead, right? For example, the SOC team reporting on an incident metrics, vulnerability management team reporting on VM metrics, threat intel team, threat hunting team, incident response team. Different teams will report different data metrics to you, right? How do you see that data, lake posing the challenges for an executive? What are the challenges that you see with this data? How to make it more, explainable and easy for the board or for the your peers or for others to convince on the technology risk aspect? How do you see this, overall data challenge in this defense ecosystem?
See, as a CISO, we need to, inform and keep our CXOs, the board updated, right? And as a regulator, I come from regulatory background where, we have very strict submissions whenever any incident happens. That is, within 6 hours, I need to report to my regulator. If not reported, I maybe have some consequences, including penalties. So, our, visibility on all these different, teams' deliverables in terms of any dashboards which they are producing. What I do is I try to, have a weekly team meetings of all these teams so that, we can bring a picture of across board. We should not have some dashboards which are playing in isolation. As a CISO, I should have a visibility of all and what it means in our environment in terms of the control, the control which is in my environment and what are the gaps. That is what I try to look in, and that is the main, responsibility as a leadership role to ensure that what are the gaps in my environment, so that when I, collaborate or centralize these all dashboards together to, get me the visibility and get my board also assurance. That is the key in this. And the only thing which I would like to, mention is collaboration between these teams is very, very important because they all play in isolation. They are not even aware what has happened, what deviations have been taken, what vulnerabilities are in the environment, what are the tools which are getting used. So there is, kind of everyone is not aware of, all the environments or controls which are in the current organization. As banks or as bureaus, we have huge teams and huge staff to manage. So the endpoints are huge and many things happening across at the real-time basis, and what to be, prioritized and what has to be, taken care so that, our environments are, assured in terms of security. So that's the main key in terms of these kind of different isolation of pockets, which we need to, I think, club as a leader and then try to bring that main picture or bottlenecks or root causes and then get that addressed. That is the key.
So that leads me, one another question, Mathan, maybe if you want to address, right? As Komal said, the data which is being generated and, you want to connect the data. And my brain again goes back to my SOC days, because as a SIM, when we used to collect the data, the first problem statement was always normalization. Right? Because without normalization, you can't do the analysis. If firewall is sending you the logs in separate format and proxy and antivirus in separate format, you need to bring them, normalize, and then you can correlate, make sense out of the data, and then you will know what is the incident about, right? But when you have the large technology ecosystem, right, and every OEM out there throwing their proprietary data formats, right? Not just from the ingestion perspective, but from the export perspective as well. And that's where the debate keeps coming about the whole concept of interoperability, right? That when the software OEMs, how interoperable they should build. For example, I'm sure you have seen the first generation of the technology where, firewall, there was no brainer. You need to adopt TCP IP, right? That's a protocol now. So nowadays, next generation technologies which are coming, so we have a lot of open standards like, hey, Stix taxi is there, or, now for SBOM, different standards are coming. So all of these standards are coming, but do you see the technology is still a problem when it comes to the standard adoption, and it's still creating a problem because, these technologies are not providing the common standard data in, data out, and is that still creating a problem for the ecosystem?
I think there, I'm unsure whether a standard way actually is an objective that we can drive past. Because the coders are coders, they generate, and the coder's principal objective is telling that whenever there is an event that is happening, write it into a log. That's how coding happens through, right? So they're making the larger coder community, we are suppliers of the entire coders for the entire world. So getting them to write the code in a manner that this is the format that log should be generated, I don't think it is meaningful enough. However, logs are written and data is generated is one. Data is something that is gathered is the other part of it, right? So data being generated section, there is a need to normalize this data, which is coaching how the data looks like and then making technologies understand that data, whether it is interpretation of the data in the manner as it is supplied. It is a long shot call. We constantly continue to do that through. So SOC, when we started integrating OT to SOC, it's meaningfully meaningless because OT logs are ununderstood by majority of us. We can't advise a OT technician to tell that write it in a manner that I understand it. So it is generated in a manner as it is. So there is a lot of I wouldn't say interoperability. Telemetry is in a manner that it comes the way. We need to understand the telemetry, decode the telemetry in the manner that we would see it as a security event or incident, and then do that through. So a lot of work happens around that, Avkash, required. But the need is for us to build that upon accordingly.
So I remember the discussion, Yogi, with you. You want to add, like, we were just talking about the SOAR or the incident response playbook, right? And when you write an incident response playbook with one technology, you're trying to do some automation and orchestration, in one particular format. But then when you decide to switch the technology, you need to migrate those playbooks. So do you see that as a challenge, or do you still see that as a process gap rather than the technology gap to be addressed?
So I think it's the same three: people, process, technology. One of the things which, in my past experience we've done is, like, every time we enrich a playbook, we want to make sure, like, the way I see it, and I was telling Geeta in the interview yesterday, was the human time and resource is the most precious thing in this whole process, right? Like, you want to reduce the human interaction to the maximum. Like only the most important thing should be shown to the analyst. Everything else should either be automated or should be, taken care of much, much, much sooner. So if you have that lens and if you look at it as like, this is your most precious resource, how do you protect it? That's when you start making decisions which will, then it becomes independent of what technology you're using, what's the skill set, and, all of those things. And you just start focusing on what can we do, preemptively, so that only the most relevant things which cannot operate without a human, is shown. And so that's where the AI stuff comes in. That's where Copilot comes in. That's where enrichment comes in. So all these things are really, really important, and, to I think Mathan's earlier point, that's the fusion part, right? You have all these things coming into a single source. And if your analyst is in the center of this, and that's your most important resource, what do you do so that they don't have fatigue? They make the right decision. They have enough information on hand to, not jump out of the system they're working on, have everything in front of them, have a single pane of view. Yeah. So all those things become very important. And you being in product, you realize the importance of, you don't want your analyst to start jumping in 3 or 4 different places to collect the information to make a decision. It should all be in front of them, and then, based on their expertise and their skills and, and experience, make that call.
Do you see AI is going to help in this direction where, a lot of manual tasks that you said around maybe the playbook part or where you write the detections for complex TTPs, right? Do you see AI is going to add help or are going to add fuel to the fire?
It's like that double-edged sword. It is a reality, right? It's one of those things which is there and we have to use it. If we are not using it, the threat actors are definitely using it. Yeah. So I remember we had these phishing tests which we used to do where we send, fake phishing emails to our employees to see if they are going to make a mistake and click on the link.
Yeah.
And one of the things in the training we used to tell them is look out for spelling mistakes.
Yeah.
But now with AI, you don't see that. It's completely a moot point. At this point, no one, every single AI can make an email which is as professional as anything else. So you have to keep evolving. AI is definitely there and we have to use it in ways, like I said, it's not replacing the human. It's it's augmenting, their capacity. So you use it to get things, faster, better, and, so that your precious resource, the human intel is.
Yeah, please.
So, one of the founding pillar for AI is rich, vast amount of data. If you look at the SOC, it is like point-in-time reaction, right? So you see an incident, you resolve the incident, and then it is done and dusted away. It is parked at the bay. The core of AI can also be, which we are trying to do that, is there already is a pre-incident that has happened and put in junk because somebody has acted upon and closed upon. With AI, prehistoric data, do I have the ability to analyze? Constantly, because it needs only compute. Earlier, the compute was expensive. Yeah. Today, data still lies. Say, as a company, if I have held 20 years of data for various incidents, various logs collected, so and so, 20 years of data is right in front of us with us. It is just that nobody is looking at. If I put an AI to look into with the rich data sets that is available into it, can it bring me value to look at what could have I done for the same thing that I saw in the past, and what could I do from a predictive manner in a different manner is something where AI helps tremendously. Yeah. Are we on that journey? The answer is yes. We are trying to put AI to do all of pre-data analysis and give suggestive way that we can do, possibly when the next time it happens, how differently we can do that. There is definitely a larger role for AI in supporting in the SOC operation.
So that reminds me, because when we talk about AI, I think the overall data is the fuel, right? AI can be as good as the data has been fed into. And as Mathan said that, maybe one organization will have some historical data points, which, the incidents that they have seen, the way they have investigated those incidents. So Komal, coming to you, we spoke on the first point about, the collaboration and the sharing, and we have so many teams. So there are two ways of collective defense we call that. The data sharing has to happen within the organization, between the teams, and it has to happen across the organization as well.
So before Komal answers,
Yeah.
we have about 9 minutes left.
Sure.
Maybe you want to take questions after Shiva.
Sure, that's fine. So the last question for you, Komal, around the collective defense, right? How important do you see the data sharing happening within the organization as well as across the organization? Because when I was talking to somebody, said, hey, if bad guys are collaborating, talking to each other, why not the good guys? Why not defenders are talking to each other and, sharing the data? And that's where the whole concept of collective defense comes into the play. I know we are still trying to figure out the problems of data sharing within the organization, but then with the advancement of AI, we need good data, and that's why the collaboration has to pick up, right, in overall theme. So where do you see, this industry where by the means of regulator or by the means of the forums or the common, places, we come across innovative ways to, collaborate amongst the defenders?
In terms of collaboration, now actually there are certain platforms and groups where they cut across sectors for all infosec or CIO levels, where we collaborate and meet and exchange ideas or incidents or experience. Wherever we need some support, we do ask for openly, but those are very restricted and all are very ethically bound, that we should not share that person's pain outside. So that kind of trust is there within our network which we have built in. We meet quite often and we share all those things as far as the external other organizations are concerned. But that really helps, because timely someone has already faced something as an incident, that quickly someone shares with us the learnings, and that I pick up if something happens at my place. So that really helps in terms of collaborating with the external organization across sectors. I would say it is across sectors, because yes, as I'm from the financial sector, we definitely have banking groups, and we are sharing those datas, and we are also having very strong support from regulator, because they have their certain and seaside people who are always sharing with us the IOCs and many other advisories, which we continuously get every day. Almost every day I have a team who actually focuses on those things, and we have to take certain actions based on those, because they get a centralized pool as they are regulators. They have across sector, and they also globally have government organizations which feed into them. So that is how the whole world is collaborating, so that we help each other across sectors and across organization. In terms of internal stuff, we in terms of collaborating, we try to share these information with those relevant stakeholders, so that they understand what is the complete picture or the strength of the environment which we are working with. So that really helps in sharing the data, understanding things, to uplift the skill. If someone has a good idea, people coming from different sectors and backgrounds, and the each and every staff, whoever is in the organization, they have different inclination or intention to learn or to achieve something in life. So they come up with bright ideas also. So that collaboration within that and bonding really helps to whenever any incident happens, if these all team members within the organization are already collaborated, I know what you are doing, I know he's doing, which he's from which team and what he is doing, we can immediately respond to the external factors who is attacking us. So we act as a team, as a wall, and then try to push them back, because that is how I think it's okay. Hackers collaborate. Even we are now at par. I would say we are at par right now, where we have also collaborated across sectors, across bank, whether it is multinational, Indian, NBFCs, every. So I think regulator has helped us, to do this. And as I said, these platforms which I'm talking about, where external organization, we share those information with others. So that we are the speakers to those different sectors people, and we share those information. This is how it happened. This is what we need to do. This is what we had experienced. So that sharing of experience really helps. This collaboration becomes seamless. Then I think we are also ahead of some way ahead of hackers. I would not try to be overconfident, but That is how we are trying to, face the external.
I think Mathan seems to have the different view here, but
The game of this side versus that side actually has an objective and incentivization. This side we are normally not having an objective. Our objectives are defined by RACIs and roles and job descriptions that we play. That actually makes it slightly tougher for us always being behind the other side. There is incentivization. They have a motive.
Yeah.
In this side, it is as you are paid to do the part of the job that you are supposed to. So you can't go and hold back an analyst telling him that why did you miss the attack? He would say, I am an analyst, I am not a defender. It is supposed to have been blocked by the firewall. Go and catch him. So we are defined by our JD. So
I know we'll keep going on that debate. I've been looked at to time for the time, so I'll just want to summarize before I take the question. We spoke about the three things: the human collaboration, touched upon the collective defense part within the organization, across the organization, cross sector, why that is important. Also in the age of AI, the data becomes crucial, how refined, how good data, you feed into. And also apart from human to human, we also spoke about machine to machine, the automation, orchestration, interoperability aspect, and how the automation will play a role to connect two technologies with each other, right? And then the data part, that once you start streamlining this, you have the streamline and the normalized data, you can make the good sense out of the data and more actionability will come through. So those are the three fundamental principles of the Cyber Fusion Center journey. I know we don't wanted to go in depth about the current operations, but still wanted to touch very high level, at least on the three pillars. With that, I would like to open the floor for any question in the audience. I see here. Yeah.
Hi, this is Tarun from PwC.
Question ruled out. You are part of my own team, so you can ask me independently.
Anybody next?
Unless it is to others. Yeah.
It's a short question, sir. Yeah. To
No.
the back.
I see somebody from the back. You're not part of any of the panels team.
Sorry
right?
that I have ruled. You have more time with us than the rest, so it's fine.
Yes.
Hi all. My name is Krishan, and I have a question related to the cyber frauds which are like risen up right now. So just wanted to know what are the right now useful use cases which we need to deploy to save ourselves from the cyber frauds.
Cyber fraud perspective, any use cases? I think if I reframe the question, he's saying that, hey, from a cyber fraud perspective, do you see any good use cases to counter the frauds on this line?
Fraud is an ultimate different domain altogether, right? Like by JD, the fraud detection is normally not under the pursuit of a CISO function. So, CISO's SOC is defending an event from happening. The fraud is a crime. Correspondingly, it is expected that risk management team, who possibly is under a CRO function, put in various analytics function to information to analyze them. Use cases, definitely. The CRO's business perspective of a fraud detection is totally different. See, you walk the path of how a fraud is supposed to be detected. Unless you don't walk the path of how the fraud is committed, then you build the use case, right? So that's how it is evolved through. It doesn't come typically under the purview of SIM and a SOC. We don't even get to see such business logic flaws that are exploited in committing a cyber fraud.
And then one thing I want to just add is this fraud will be more specific to the industry, right? Finance industry, telco industry, software industry will have a different kinds of...
But if you relate the fraud today happening as, say for example, CFO fraud, which is actually a cyber attack, right? So which typically originate from a phishing, spear phishing or a whaling attack. There, if you look at that fraud being committed, a CISO function and the SOC is expected to identify such attacks. So typically, I don't define a use case. In my work portfolio, I walk the path the attacker takes, then decode and find out, do we have telemetries, which is sensors planted appropriately to detect such data. 99% of the situation, we come across blind spots. So we unearth technologies that are planted to give me the telemetry. So walk the path of the fraud or an attack and then retrace it back is how I build use cases. There is no hard and fast rule to,
We'll take one last question.
Yeah. Hey Mathan,
Yes.
good afternoon. So, as you said, AI systems have a lot of scope in SOC area, right? So, according to the CRA, which is about to be coming in 2027 Cyber Regulation Act, so it requires a whole new structure for AI systems, like the penetration testing, the red teaming exercise that you do for the IT system don't work for AI. The general risk assessment that we do for IT system do not work for AI. And the third party risk management that we do for IT system does not cover the AI risks at all. And even the teams that do API testing and all for the AI systems, they lack the talent, or they need more training to do more AI related red teaming or any action. So adopting AI systems is going to require the organization to have a whole new AI
Sorry,
system
can you please
risk management.
summarize the question easily
Yeah,
for
sorry.
the panel?
AI
Sorry.
risk management team. So is adopting AI really worth the money, effort and the regulatory risks that is going to occur with the very strict CRA that is going to be coming in place?
Yeah, anybody wants to take a shot on the aspect? Komal?
Yeah, anyone in the panel, it's open to everyone.
Yep. So, as far as adopting AI, so we all are having a journey where we are also understanding things and we are trying to mature our environments and walking through the path. Even the regulators are coming with the frameworks and, processes which we need to build in for AI. So that is how we are trying to strengthen the whole environment along with the trainings which we give it to our staff for the AI and the products which are coming in the market with the collaboration. So that really helps. So that is what is a stake. Anything which is new, let's adopt it, but let's take it as a journey, mature it slowly. First day, no one will get foolproof or mature. Even if we are foolproof in any technology, then also we get hacked. So there is no, yes or no, whether we should take it or not. Based on your business requirement and goals, you take those technologies or adopt those technologies and as mature accordingly.
Yeah, I'll just add one thing. I think your question was, is it worth it? Like, is it worth investing in it? It's a reality. Like, if we don't do this, we don't want to be, caught unawares. And I know Sanjay sir is in the house, so the regulation and everything, I'm sure he knows better, but everyone has to evolve. Like, the regulatory stuff has to evolve. We have to evolve. Like, that is the reality, and, we can't wait for it. So it's definitely worth everyone's time and money.
I know still we have a lot of hands, but looking at the time, I just want to, end the session. If anyone of you have the question, panel will be here around. Feel free to ask them. But I want to thank, panel and, summarizing the complex concept of Cyber Fusion Center in a very layman and not complexing. I hope we have done the justice to it. With that, I would hand it over to Geeta. Thank you so much.